When you can actually see your profit for the year in dollars and cents, it gets you more in the notion of selling corn, knowing that I can lock in a $50,000 profit or whatever the profit is. You want to lock it in. If I know I can make that much profit in a year, I will be in business next year.
Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody. Today is Tuesday the 18th, and we had the markets mixed here this morning. Let's turn over to the grain hedge trading platform and see where we closed off the day. Corn trading up 2.5 cents, soybeans down 13 3/4 cents, and wheat in Chicago here down 4 3/4 cents. Now, soybeans was trading sharply lower here, and you'll notice that we're really cupping over on the lows that we printed back on Wednesday of last week on the 12th. When the WASDE report came out and showed us significant increases in ending stocks from the July report. And I think one of the reasons why we are able to, why we've been trading lower, why we're cupping over on these lows and likely going to test that 904, 905 level is simply because the weather outlook is still very positive. It looks as though, according to the weather forecast, there's going to be ample precipitation moving throughout the Midwest this week. And this is critical. We still have about a quarter of the crop left to enter the pod setting stage. 3/4 of the crop is in the pod setting stage. That's on par with the average. And so this is a critical time period, and we're getting ample precipitation. Now, I think another reason why we're seeing the market move lower is because analysts were expecting to see a slight decline in the good to excellent rating last week as a result of the dryness from the previous week. But we didn't get that. Soybeans stayed right around 63% good to excellent here, and that disappointed those that were looking for a decline in ratings, and I think it put a little bit of pressure here on the market. The other thing that I think came out this morning, and this is, I believe, affecting soybeans more so than corn, simply because China is a larger consumer of U.S. soybeans. But China sold off 6% again yesterday, last night, and basically what we're seeing is really a pullback in the Chinese economy. We're seeing a slowdown in the Chinese economy, and by mid-morning, basically we heard that China's government is going to be injecting $48 billion of its foreign exchange reserves into the China Development Bank to boost its overall capital base. So this is something where typically this bank, in order to boost the capital, it'll kind of help spur on some domestic investment on low-income housing and infrastructure as the economy slows. So this, to me, is a reaction to a slightly slowing economy, and that's a bit of a concern. When you have China slowing down, that puts a question mark on the demand side of the equation here for soybeans, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've been pushing lower. When you look at corn, we're not approaching the lows, but I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple days if we start to break lower here, if we start to kind of break this consolidation pattern, because we are sitting right at some resistance here that's right around that 375, 378 level. Right now we're trading right around 377, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of selling pressure off this. It's been very difficult for us to get above this price level, and with the weather looking very positive, with the crop tour going through the Midwest, there could be some surprises, but I think weather outlook is going to probably weigh on this grain market, and it's likely that we move lower. Now let's talk a little bit about the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. This tour started on Monday. It's ending on Thursday in Rochester, Minnesota. Both the Eastern group and the Western group are going to share their findings. But basically after the first day, you'll notice that for Ohio, Pro Farmer came out with a yield estimate for corn of 148.37 bushels per acre. Now what's interesting is that yield forecast is below the yield forecast that we saw in the August WASDE report, the August crop production report of 168 bushels per acre for Ohio. So what we're seeing here is Pro Farmer basically seeing in the fields that they sampled, on average they're seeing yield down sharply, and even more so than the USDA is factoring in the latest report. For soybeans here, they saw a 16% decline in the pod count of that 3x3 box that they do the pod counts, and we're seeing a 6 or an 8 to 8.5% decline in yield in the USDA report. So it seems to me that based on what we're seeing out of Pro Farmer in their tour, particularly in Ohio, is slightly worse production than has been factored in by the USDA. But again, when you go through these eastern states, there's a high degree of variability field to field, so it's going to be very difficult to get a real handle on what sort of production we're going to get out of those states. Out of South Dakota, Pro Farmer is estimating 165.94 bushels per acre, and that is actually up from the 160 bushels per acre that was forecast in the latest crop production report by the USDA. So it looks as though South Dakota a little bit stronger according to what Pro Farmer has seen and the samples that they have taken, a little bit stronger production out of South Dakota than factored in the latest USDA report. For soybeans, basically what they're seeing is a pod count on par with last year. USDA's average yield expectation is also on par with last year. Of course, they're going through Illinois. There's talk about highly variable fields and yields seen there. We'll get more of a summary here as they produce the results for their second day. We'll talk about that in the morning commentary tomorrow, and of course go through it on GrainTV tomorrow as well. So stay tuned. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, please give the office a call. Number's 877-472-4607, and I look forward to seeing you here on Monday.